on top of crap, on top of crap, on top of crap.
Most of the time, we see Gordon Ramsay giving it to lesser chefs over their failure to play the kitchen game correctly.
The customer's gone. Customer's gone.
He's always attentive to other people's mistakes, and he has this almost invincibly intimidating posture. Gordon has some ugly fails of his own, though.
Don't with me.
Yeah, I will with you. Who the you think you are?
Cutting his finger on The Ellen Show. This one is a little rookie fail before we get into the more severe ones.
And then just very carefully again, keep your fingers tucked in. Okay, and just slice it.
Gordon was cooking a vegan stir-fry, and in his typical state of hyperactivity, he cut his finger and hurt the nail pretty bad.
I haven't cut myself this big in 10 years.
Gordon is always so fired up, but he usually does that with an equivalent level of concentration. Ironically, while showing her how to put her fingers on a pepper in order not to cut herself.
I was trying to teach you at the same time, right?
I know, but...
But it's convenient, it's a red pepper, so you won't see the blood. Okay.
There's also the possibility that he was shaky about making a vegan dish, being the meat lover that he is.
Pretend that this shoe is an unboned chicken.
Actually, I'm vegan.
Okay, then pretend this shoe is whatever you people eat. Maybe it is a shoe.
In any case, cooking is not the best thing to do while wounded, especially not on the air. And also because Gordon always tries to maintain the posture of a man who knows how to run his act with full control and precision. Such small fails are still capable of ruffling him up, but he was able to get himself together and turn the situation into a nice crack.
Drive yourself to the hospital and you're done.
Bursting out and into the door. Outbursts tend to get dramatic, and we know Gordon to be a master of outbursts.
All three of you are pathetic. You don't care.
I care,
You're
Chef.
way behind and you haven't got a clue. Can we work together as a team?
One time, though, he was ranting at the crew at the Levante's restaurant where he had a pretty grotesque experience. And after finishing his rant, he attempted to storm out. After having built up a certain level of intimidation among the crew, that incident was able to wipe out that whole influence. His experience was quite ugly in the place too, and he had every reason to flip out, seeing as how every detail about the restaurant was in catastrophic decay.
How often is the restaurant cleaned?
How often? I can't answer.
After finding rotten food, a 2-week-old plate of tiramisu, olive oil that had gone bad, and excessive amounts of hair and dirt in the seat's gaps, not to speak of the crew's collective attitude of cluelessness and indifference that together got him to explode in the first place.
I don't know if I should laugh or cry. Which one? Both.
Gordon wetting himself. Okay, that might be clickbait, but let us explain. Gordon has made too many enemies on Kitchen Nightmares through making absolute mockeries of the owners and crews of the restaurants he visits. Some slight payback was due. When visiting this Brooklyn restaurant called Mama Maria's, Gordon was met with almost every deficiency in the book. The food was frozen, some was rotten, and some was even frozen while rotten.
It's ruined, you can't cook that. Oh my God.
As he beat down the self-esteem of every person working at the restaurant, from the waiters to the manager and up to the owner, their payback came right at the beginning of the episode. Gordon was searching for the source of a certain stench that was bothering him. His nose led him to this plant, and as soon as he lifted it up, you can tell that the whole crew was pretty relieved. Most relieved among them was the manager.
It was a little bit of a payback because he just finished tearing me apart. I thought that was a little bit of karma.
The guy could not wipe off that wide smile watching Gordon covered in that dirty water.
Wow. Now I'll pay for any dry cleaning, right? Okay? Me.
Sending his child off the swing.
I've got time to go for a walk with the kids to build up a proper appetite.
Gordon frequently features members of his family in his shows. He's known to be a silly, playful father to his kids, and almost himself a kid to his wife.
It's just an insane child.
Gordon had taken his family for a Christmas walk, and while walking at the park, the kids took turns on the rope swing while Gordon gave the pushes. When one of his kids had a turn, Gordon's swings were a bit too strong that the boys swung back too widely and flew off with the rope. Like him, though, Gordon's kids are reckless daredevils themselves. All of Gordon's kids started practicing stunts as they grew older. Seeing his kid flying with a rope didn't get out of Gordon any reaction but laughter, and that That was the same reaction made by the rest of the family members, including Jack himself. It wasn't the first time Gordon has had that kind of incident. Being the adult child that he is with his family, many similar fails come out of their playtime.
I'm sorry, okay.
The non-Thai pad Thai.
I love Thai food, I love cooking it and I love eating it, but this has to be the most daunting task so far.
Gordon once visited the only Thai temple in southwest London, where he was supposed to cook for the Buddhist monks staying at the temple. He met with the executive chef of one of London's top Thai restaurants, whose job was to mentor Gordon in Thai cooking.
Pressure's on, right?
Yeah.
So they've got to be before 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
They ever send food back?
No, never.
And following Chan's instructions, Gordon cooked the components of a pad Thai meal, but altered them by his own touch, the same way he is used to when cooking pad Thai at home.
I'm using delicious king prawns and adding some extras like chili and tamarind paste.
He then added his touch to the noodles by putting them into a beaten egg cooked in the wok, and he wrapped up the dish by sprinkling it with peanuts. Sounds pretty good, doesn't it?
So good and tasty.
This is not pad Thai at all.
This is not pad Thai. No.
Pad Thai have to be sweet, sour, and salty.
Joke!
That must have been a bad brush off for Gordon.
You're a tough cookie. I want to keep an eye on the monks to see how it goes down.
Getting Australia to hate him.
Gordon Ramsay on the run, but not backing down.
One time, Gordon stirred the whole of Australia up against him when in one of his exhibitions, he called one of the country's prominent journalists, Tracy Grimshaw, an ugly old pig. He was taped saying that while giving a speech in one of his exhibitions, right after he had displayed for his audience of 3,000 people a picture of a woman with a pig's face, saying that this was Tracy Grimshaw. Apparently, Gordon didn't enjoy his time on air with Tracy because in the exhibition, right after his pig remark, the trash talking regarding the interview began.
I'm in love with Tracy Grimshaw. I've been sued for the last 10 years.
Grimshaw began tearing his flesh apart on her show.
We've all seen how Gordon Ramsay treats his wife, and he supposedly loves her.
The Prime Minister called Gordon a new form of lowlife.
This language.
And the Deputy Prime Minister told him
What he should do is confine himself to the kitchen.
instead of coming out with an apology, Gordon made matters worse by trying to deny some of the stuff he said.
To stoop that low and attack my wife is disgusting.
The man spent more than 20 years in the kitchen, but we bet nothing ever blew up in his face like that one.
I can only say, as an outsider, it looks to me like he's very nervous and very angry.
The triple slap attempt.
He was removed.
You was removed? Why?
I hate Gordon Ramsay.
When you put so much pressure on the people around you, you must expect a few of them to snap. One of the most famous of these was British actress Amanda Berry's attempt to slap Gordon. Amanda took part in Hell's Kitchen for a while back in 2004, and once, while Gordon was roughing her up and making the air tense for everybody, she got too frustrated with his arrogance and she tried to slap him 3 times in a row until the rest of the crew had to come to calm her down.
Don't raise your hands.
Why not?
Don't raise your hands.
What do you mean, don't raise my bloody
I've just told you, don't raise your hands.
The funny thing is that no one had anything to say in his defense. The incident is still talked about. Just this January, Amanda Berry was on Celebrity Big Brother when the slapping incident came up.
You stopped me just there, but yes, he deserved it. But anyways, I won't go into that because that is public.
Hilarious.
That is public knowledge.
Gordon is unpopular among many women due to his perceived misogyny and the many occasions in which he insulted women on his shows or in TV appearances.
I'm not lying, not playing a game. I wanted to show off. Everybody's buggered.
Walking out for the first time.
Then let's end the show. You think I'm too far gone? There's no hope. Yalla, yalla.
We all know how Gordon's whole life is about bringing order to failing restaurants.
This restaurant is being run like a pigsty.
They're moulding you.
Half of it's fat, you idiot. It's fatter than you.
So when he fails to do that, that's a fail on top of a fail. When Gordon decided to dedicate his time to pulling things together at Amy's Baking Company, he found a place that was in total shambles. They were keeping customers waiting for long periods of time, yelling at unsatisfied customers, and getting into brawls with customers who were unwilling to pay for food that they didn't receive. The married couple who owns the place were even yelling at each other in front of the customers, and Amy was snapping at any criticism to her sloppy cooking.
Maybe they don't understand it doesn't come from a can. Kidding me right now?
Gordon went in to play superhero, but soon after found that he had a lost cause in front of him. He can overcome the worst of chefs, but he couldn't crack the barrier of defense that Amy held up against any sort of criticism related to her restaurant.
You motherfuckers, you all think that you can come in here and say these things. Are you kidding me?
When he found himself totally puzzled, he walked out for the first time on his show, admitting that he had failed to help that restaurant.
You have the right to run the business the way you want to run your business.
I have the right to do the right thing.
Being owned by his daughter on national television.
On the interview tonight, are you going to be wearing those slippers? Because you'll get kicked out of the studio.
This time, the BBC was running a report on Gordon Ramsay with footage of him with his family. In one of the scenes, he was running around with his daughter in the house while holding a mic and pretending to be a journalist. When he asked his daughter, Tilly,
"What's it like being the daughter to the best chef in the world?"
Tilly replied,
"But Jamie Oliver's not my dad."
That was a straight jab to Gordon's ego. In several TV appearances, Tilly was the one letting out her dad's embarrassing secrets and mocking him.
And he's quite a good cook, too.
Excuse me, how about very?
Despite the roast he keeps getting from his kids, we have to admit, though, that Gordon's relationship with his family is pretty enviable.
Please, you'll never ever cry again.
Cockroaches in Gordon's own kitchen. Gordon had something of a scandal at his central London restaurant, Maze. As a chef who we constantly see raging out at chefs and restaurant managers for having bad hygiene in their kitchens, Gordon should have given more attention to his own domain. When the health inspectors paid Gordon a visit that month, they found 7 cockroaches swarming freely around the kitchens. Maze is a pretty high-end and pricey restaurant, so it is not a small matter to have news like that emerging about its hygiene, least of all when it's owned by Gordon Ramsay himself. That's a double strike, one to his restaurant and one to his own credibility. The restaurant's hygiene ratings fell down to 2 stars as a result to this inspection after having maintained a 4-star rating leading up to it. That was not an isolated incident. In 2009, health inspectors found mouse droppings under a kitchen sink at one of his previous restaurants, the Warrington Hotel in northwest London. After both incidents, though, Gordon went on shamelessly roasting chefs with his typical notorious posture, temper, and has not been shaken one bit by the news.
And the minute you start looking at yourself in the mirror and stop blaming the people around you, the quicker you may get this place turned around.
Phew! Just like the chefs from Kitchen Nightmares, Gordon isn't so picture perfect himself. Share with us any other Gordon Ramsay fails that cracked you up. Also, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and click the bell for those sweet, sweet notifications.
Okay, well, that was embarrassing.